Carved stones older than farming, endless rows that don't lead anywhere, massive circles built far from any town, and blocks so heavy even modern machines would struggle to move them. These are ancient megalithic structures that shouldn't exist. The Carnac stones stretch out across the land. In western France, over 3,000 tall stones are lined up in long rows that go on for miles. Most of them were put in place between 4,500 and 3,300 BCE, which makes them older than Stonehenge. Some of the stones are taller than a one-story building, others are smaller, and the spacing between them slowly changes as the rows continue. That wasn't careless work. Archaeologists believe the layout was planned very carefully, even if we no longer understand what the planning behind it actually meant. There's no giant temple or tomb at Carnac, which makes it harder to explain. It doesn't clearly mark graves, and it doesn't sit next to a major settlement. Whatever was happening here wasn't about living space. So what are the stones for then? Ceremony? Marking something? Who knows? But setting up this many stones would have taken years of work and a lot of people. Each stone had to be dug out, moved, stood upright, and secured so it wouldn't fall. So there was some sort of meaning behind these things. If you walked past rujm el-hiri on the ground, you might not even notice it. It looks like piles of dark rock spread across an open field, but from above, it looks like Deep Space Nine crashed to the ground. The site was built around 3000 BCE using tens of thousands of stones carefully stacked without cement or glue. In the center is a large mound, which may have been added later, possibly for burial. Some of the gaps between the stones line up perfectly with the sunrise on the longest day of the year, so the layout was not random. What's missing is a nearby town. There's no sign that large numbers of people lived close enough to, conveniently build something like this. That means people traveled here, worked together, and then left when it was done. Not very practical. So whatever it was used for, it must have been very important to them. The ġgantija temples in Malta were already ancient when the pyramids were being built. They date back to 3600 to 3200 BCE, and they're some of the oldest stone buildings still standing today. People later believed that giants built them, mostly because the stones are so big, it's hard to imagine normal people moving them. Some of the blocks weigh over 50 tons, yet they were lifted and placed without metal tools or wheels. The builders shaped the stones so they fit together tightly, creating thick walls and rooms that have survived for thousands of years. The layout is carefully planned. The temples have rounded rooms connected by narrow walkways, and archaeologists found animal bones and carved figures inside. These likely were not homes. They were built for special events. Seems like rituals may have taken place here. Whatever methods they used to build them though, they clearly worked, even without the tools that you'd expect to need to create a place like this. From the outside, barnenez looks like a long, low hill sitting near the coast of Brittany, but this hill was actually constructed, and a very long time ago, around 4500 BCE. That makes it older than Stonehenge and also older than the pyramids. It's one of the earliest large stone monuments ever discovered in Europe. Inside, it's packed with stone passageways and burial chambers. There are 11 separate chambers, all built using stacked stone, and the entire thing stretches over 230 feet long. To build it, people moved and stacked thousands of tons of rocks, shaping a massive monument without cement or metal tools. Some of the stones inside are carved with simple symbols as well, so this wasn't just a pile of rocks thrown together. There was some sort of meaning behind it. Archaeologists believe it was used as a burial site for important people, possibly over many generations. It's amazing something like this still exists though. At the time, people were still figuring out farming, yet here they were, organizing large groups to build something that's still standing to this day. And in the same part of the world, we also have Gavrinis, which sits on a small island off the coast of Brittany. It dates back to around 4200 BCE. From the outside, it looks like a grassy mound. Inside, it's something else entirely. I mean, look at these carvings. It's beautiful. It's a long stone passage that leads to a central chamber, and almost every stone along the way is covered in these carvings. There are spirals and zigzags and other repeated patterns that show up at other sites from the same time. Some of the stones used here were clearly taken from older monuments, which means people were reusing pieces that already held meaning. The passage lines up with the rising sun at certain times of the year, allowing light to travel straight into the chamber. Gavrinis wasn't a place people lived though. It was sealed most of the time, probably only open for specific events. which just makes all the effort they put into decorating these stones even more impressive. And now we head to Spain with the dolmen of Menga, built around 3750 BCE. It's a long stone chamber with a short passage leading inside, but the size of the stones, some of the roof slabs weigh close to 180 tons, making them some of the heaviest stones ever used in an ancient construction like this. Instead of pointing toward the sun or stars like many other sites though, Menga is aligned toward a nearby mountain, which feels deliberate, must have had some sort of spiritual meaning. Inside the chamber, the space is wide and tall, almost cave-like. The stones are so heavy that builders had to add supporting pillars inside just to keep the roof from collapsing. The msoura sits in northern Morocco. It doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves. It's a large stone circle made up of around 167 standing stones, surrounding a central mound of earth. The site dates between the 4th and 3rd century BCE, so it's younger than most of the other sites on the list, but still impressive in scale. One of the stones stands over 16 feet tall, much taller than the rest. Definitely feels like it was meant to be the main marker. The stones are spaced in a way that clearly defines an inside and an outside. As for what the inside was for, we don't really know. Very little digging has been done here, so most of what we have are guesses. What we do know is whoever built it put in a huge amount of effort. Near the ancient Roman ruins at Baalbek in Lebanon, there's a quarry with stone blocks. Some of these things weigh over 1,000 tons. One unfinished block is estimated at around 1,650 tons, making it one of the largest stones ever cut by humans. These blocks were meant to be used in the massive temple complex right next to the quarry, and some of the slightly smaller stones from the same area were actually moved and built into the temple walls. Cutting stones that big is already difficult, but moving them, that's on a completely different level. Even with modern equipment, lifting and transporting something that heavy would not be simple. Yet some of the stones were clearly intended to be moved, and these things are clean and straight. They clearly knew what they were doing. What nobody knows for sure is why they stopped. Maybe the project got scrapped, or maybe they finally hit a limit. These things were just too heavy and had to be left behind. All right, we've talked about some places built around 3,000 to 4,000 BCE. This next site is even older, and by a lot. Gobekli Tepe in Turkey was built around 9,600 BCE. Farming hadn't started yet. Villages just weren't really a thing, and yet somehow people came together to build this massive stone site on top of a hill. The builders cut huge stone pillars straight out of the ground, some weighing as much as a large truck, then dragged them into place and stood them upright. Each circle has 2 tall stones in the middle, with more set up around them. They're also covered in carvings of animals like snakes, wild pigs, birds, and foxes. All of it was done using basic stone tools too. And what's strange is that nobody lived there. Archaeologists didn't find houses, fire pits, or anything like that. That means people traveled here for a reason, did whatever they came to do, and then left. Sometime around 8,000 BCE, the whole site was buried. It wasn't destroyed, obviously, because it's still standing today, but for whatever reason, they wanted it sealed away. The archaeologists who led the early digs believed places like this may have brought people together so often that farming came later just to support gatherings like this. If that's true, it totally changed the way we think of human history. And Stonehenge didn't start as the stone circle people picture today. The first work there began around 3000 BCE, and changes kept happening for hundreds of years. That means generation after generation kept coming back to the same spot, even though they had no written language to pass instructions down. The largest stones weigh about 25 tons, and they were dragged from miles away. Some of the smaller stones came from Wales, which is over 150 miles from the site. Moving them would have taken serious planning and cooperation, especially without metal tools or wheels. The stones are lined up with the sun in a very specific way. On the longest and shortest days of the year, the sun rises or sets right where the stones are pointing. That kind of accuracy doesn't happen by accident, of course. Clearly, they were paying close attention to the sky over long periods of time. Stonehenge also wasn't alone. The land around it is full of burial mounds and pathways, so this area was important long before the stones came to be. Nobody knows exactly what Stonehenge was for, but it clearly mattered enough for people to keep working on it for hundreds and hundreds of years. That has been the video for today. I will catch you, yes, you specifically, next time.